Hey guys, this is Corey with the Showdown Battle League, and we are doing our Week 2 recap. I am joined by Brian of the Boston Braylooms, Jack of the Toronto Staraptors, and Frank of the Compton Clefables. And we're going to go ahead and jump right in and start with our match of the week, which is Lewis against Chabin. And let me know what you guys' thoughts are on that one. I think this was a really good match, and it kind of came down to the wire. Even the last turn, nobody really knew who was going to win.
Yeah, this was a really back and forth game with some really cool sets on both sides. We got the automized Celesteela, which was really cool. And I guess what it came down to in the end, they did a good job of keeping that thing around late game and playing that thing very well. So he was able to win with it.
Yeah, I just think it was a really well played Entei. Like he protected it into the late game, and then he was able to use it and break through the rest of Chabin's team.
I was wondering, actually, I'm actually looking at it. I'm looking at it as we're talking, and I'm wondering, he brought Bright Powder on Celis as to why.
Maybe a little bit of luck goes his way could help. Other than that, it's kind of like, eh.
I thought it was really neat. I was actually very curious as to his idea there.
Yeah, I really like. Oh yeah, what were you gonna say?
I just hope Luis doesn't get too attached to it. I mean, I know in the past, I remember in season 2 he brought the dual screens SBL on every single week. And it's kind of like a gimmick sort of thing, and I hope you bring something a little bit more reliable on Celesteela in the future. And I think he will, but we'll see.
I really like the bulky Mega Gardevoir though with Wish and Will-O-Wisp, and he made the really good prediction to get the burn with Mega Scissor. I think he's been using Gardevoir, it's a pretty straightforward Pokemon, but he's using it in a way where it's actually pretty versatile, so it's really cool to see him do that so well.
Yeah, I was a big fan of this match. I think both of them played extremely well. And really, it came down to Entei for Lewis. I kind of, pulled him a win out of nowhere. So yeah, definitely he overwhelmingly won Match of the Week. And that being said, we will move on to Play of the Week, which was the Assault Vest Ditto. And Brian, I know you're going to have a lot to say about this one, so I will let you give us some inside scoop.
What this kind of came down to, when I went into this game and his Ditto first came in, for some reason I just had this thought in my mind where I just thought there's a chance he's not Assault or Choice Scarf Ditto, so I stayed in with my Aerodactyl to risk the tie. And then when he won the speed tie and outsped me, I was like, okay, he's gotta be Choice Scarf. And I went into my Heracross, and that died too to the Aerial Ace. And at that point, I was a little bit behind because I lost a lot of my Pokemon to the Ditto. Yeah, not much else to say here really. Yeah, I don't know. It was tough to deal with. I was really weak to my own Aerodactyl. I was kind of depending on it being choice locked to handle the handle the Aerodactyl if it got impostered by Ditto, but that didn't really happen, so I kind of struggled to beat it.
Yeah, Ditto. Oh, what were you gonna say?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I was supposed to say, because Ditto is usually it's very one-dimensional, but I've seen some people use it leftovers and switch into a Bulkymon, and they'll be able to copy their recover moves or maybe set up hazards. So I've seen it used in cool ways, but also Assault Vest is pretty neat as a Magier to switch in. I was also really impressed by the use of Komala. I did not realize it got such good coverage, and it straight up one-shot a few things I did not expect it to. So I thought that was really cool to see from Brian's end.
Yeah, I thought this overall was a pretty cool match to see. It's always exciting to see people use Pokemon not in the traditional way, which I think is what Dennis pulled out with Ditto. And from there, we will go to the next match, the Columbus Littons versus the Compton Clefables. And Frank, this is your opportunity to brag about your second pretty powerful victory.
Well, I'm not sure if I want to brag, but I don't want to be mean, but I was kind of disappointed because even though I didn't prep very often for this match, and going into it, I was super tired that day, so I honestly expected a loss. But a lot of what he did really confused me. For example, when he sent Muck out against Garchomp, I wasn't sure what he was intending to do, but I knew I outsped, I knew Shadow Sneak wouldn't kill me, and I knew that Muck's defense is super weak, so I just went for the Earthquake, and as expected, it killed the Muck. What else was there? He made a few weird plays. When he went Thunderbolt against Garchomp, I think it was Jack that mentioned this to me. I guess he may have thought I was going to switch, but I don't know. When I had the sub up, I could take 1 HP Ice, which is what I was expecting before I had to switch out. But yeah, I didn't think he'd play like that. I still got the win though, so I guess that's fine.
Yeah, I think maybe it was just kind of an off match for him. Everyone has that every once in a while where you're not just playing super well. You make a few mistakes. Like he showed in week 1 that Tony can play pretty well. So it's still a long season, so he's got a lot of time to, get a few other good wins under his belt. But I know Frank played really well. He had some like the sub Garchomp did very well. And but also I thought there were some cool sets on Tony's side too. I thought Magnet Rise Diancie was like awesome. I didn't even realize I got that, which was super cool. And also Pursuit Alolan Muck was pretty cool. But otherwise, I think Frank just kind of played the way he needed to play. He just kind of used Mega Absol pretty well, Garchomp pretty well, and was able to get like a really solid win 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I think after 2 weeks, Frank's sitting in a good spot. He's actually the number 1 team in the Johto division or conference. I'm sorry, and he's also leading his division as well. So he's got a pretty dominant lead on that side right now. Overall, it was a pretty interesting match. Now we do have to remember it was only Tony's second match with us. So if he's going to perform under par, it's going to be nice if it's in the first half of the season where it doesn't matter quite as much. And with that being said, we're going to move to the Olympia Bearticks versus the Zeneca Zekrams, Ryan versus Cody. What are your guys' thoughts on this one?
I just want to say, because it's probably going to be brought up inevitably, there was a lot of hacks with the Hurricane misses and crits in this game, which did kind of suck to see because it always sort of affects differential, and it can kind of be demoralizing if you feel like you lose the hacks. But I do want to compliment Ryan, though, because I rewatched it afterwards after watching it the first time, and he still played pretty well. Like, Baton Pass agility Mega Low Pony was super cool. He played super aggressive using Volt Turn pretty much the entire game to really keep momentum in his side. Pretty much the entire time. Didn't really seem like, I guess because of the hacks, but also didn't really seem like Cody was able to get a firm grasp in the game. It seemed like whatever time he tried to make a switch, Ryan would predict that. He'd go for a U-turn with a scissor or something like that. He was just able to keep the momentum in his favor. He kept Raikou alive, even though barely, just to keep differential in his favor. He just played, obviously there was hacks, but it looks like he just played a very solid game overall.
Yeah, I mean, the hacks bugged me, but hacks always bugs me. I think that regardless of the hacks, I agree, he played very well. I mean, even if the hacks didn't, go in his favor, he still, it would have been a bit of a different game, but he still played well,
Alright, so we're going to move to the next match, the Toronto Raptors Jack's team versus the Oklahoma City Electivire. And this personally had my vote for Play of the Week. The Calm Mind Cobalion kind of caught everybody off guard and kind of demolished Carlos's team. So Jack, I'll let you speak on that.
Yeah, I just want to say I think Cobalion, it's just a super underrated pick. I remember season 2, some people were bashing it, and I think Brian used it really well last season. I'm really enjoying using it so far. I feel like with these bulky teams, so much of this comes from the prep. If you prep a good enough team for a team like Carlos, you'll probably be fine, and I felt like I did pretty well in my prep. Cobalion was just able to set up on what I thought was the weak link of Carlos' team, which is Toxapex. And Toxapex is a really good wall, but it can't break subs. It's so passive, it just kind of sits there. So if you have something that takes advantage of that, it literally only takes one single Pokemon to get a 6-0, and that's what I was able to do. I think my walls did pretty well. Porygon 2 with Filter is super hard to kill unless you can knock it off. Couldn't quite get Skill Swap Jirachi to work, but was still able to use that to trade some of its health for Terrakion, which was nice. And everything else my team just kind of did what it needed to do. I think Carlos has a good team, and he proved in the first week he can, and improved in past seasons too, that he's a good battler. So I'm sure he'll bounce back and still be a really big threat this season. But yeah, I think this is kind of what happens if you have something on your team that just can't break subs. This is why I lost in season 2 playoffs, because there was a sub SD Drapion, I just could not break its sub. It can be a really tough thing to deal with if you're not prepared for it.
Yeah, that's kind of why I stopped building or drafting really bulky teams after season 2. I started kind of drafting really much more offensive teams because I don't know, you end up having a lot of passive Pokemon that can't do things. They just end up being set up fodder for random calm mindsets on Pokemon you don't expect to have them. Not even just Cobalion, other things too.
I was more nervous, I think, to face your season 3 team, which had a lot of more offensive threats than a team like this, where I felt like there were more passive threats, which were more annoying, but I could deal with as long as I was able to deal with them effectively. Does anyone else have anything to say? Frank? Yep.
Just to add something real quick, I was actually wondering during the battle I was watching it. I was wondering what could Carlos have done instead of stockpiled his Toxapex, because I think that moment when he did the first one was when he lost the match, because once you let a mon like Cobalion, any mon really, just boost itself, you kind of just get a giant sweep coming in after that, and especially because stockpile only ups it maybe 3 times. Cobalion will still have enough power to break that. And if he's behind a sub and Toxapex isn't able to break that sub, because it isn't, it's super weak. It just I think he should have like just done something different, but I'm not sure what. But when he started stockpiling Toxapex, that was the point at which he lost the match.
If he had immediately switched out into Nidoqueen after like the first Calm Mind, broken the sub, then maybe he could have gone into like Tangrowth to try to weaken me or knock off my leftovers, so then I can't spam that. Like he should have just acted once he saw the first Calm Mind, knew he couldn't break the sub. He should have like risked sacking maybe like Nidoqueen and something else to ensure that I didn't win right there. But I could still set up next time Toxapex came in, so it would have been hard to deal with.
It would have been hard to deal with, but I felt that he could have done a bit better in that regard because again, once he started setting up stockpiles, he was just giving you free turns to set up Calm Mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like at that point, Carlos really just didn't know what to do. He had a setup sweeper setting up against a very slow, bulky team, and unfortunately, there's not much he really could have done in that case. So, with that being said, we'll move on to the next match: Seattle Sylveons with Christian versus the Nuremberg Ninetales with Hans. I thought that Christian played pretty well at the end of this match. He really saved himself from a 6-0 sweep by Hans. I just feel like Hans had the better matchup, but Christian did use his Crocodile pretty well at the end to save some differential for himself.
Yeah, I think Hans really bounced back after the lost week 1, was able to show what his team could do. He used Toxicroak really well, and I love seeing that because I had that thing season 1, and I only brought it to a few games, but pretty much it put in so much work. I think it's super underrated, and he was able to use it really well. Christian's end, the high jump kick miss with Mega Man HM sucked. It was really unfortunate because that would have it put him in a really bad position early on. I thought Life Orb Sylveon was pretty cool because it's really hard, but wasn't able to really pull it off. One thing I didn't like on his end was Sub Amoonguss. I don't get the point. Could have maybe gone for Spore when he's in versus Toxicroak. I'm not really sure what the sub would have done. I guess predict switch and then get Spore, but I don't really see why he couldn't just click Spore regardless. I'm not sure what that did, and he's brought 2 weeks. Other than that, the Crocodile late game was able to really salvage this game and keep his differential up. But I think Hans played the way he needed to get a really solid win and get his first win of the season.
Yeah, I think Hans is going to be a team to watch this season. He's got a very good, very well drafted team. So I think he's going to be one that's going to be dangerous for the other coaches.
Yeah, watching that fight, I saw after the high jump kick, I realized that was probably really demoralizing to have happen to you. And then it also took away his super powerful Mega, so I kind of saw him slowly fall down. But at the very end with Crocodile, he really pulled through with that thing. He may not have won, but like it did work. It put in enough work.
Yeah, I mean that saved him from a 6-0 sweep, so that's well done on that part there. And the next match we have the Baltimore Oricorios with Kevin against the New England Pat Rats with Joe. And once again, Kevin falling victim to Hex in a very heartbreaking way yet again. I think this was very unfortunate for Kevin. He just got completely walled by Mega Slowbro, and the crit on Charizard cost him the match. What do you guys think?
Yeah, something I want to talk about that I've seen the past 2 weeks that's been really cool from Joe's team is his use of his grassy terrain and substitute. The first week he brought the Salazzle and stalled out something with sub Toxic. And this time he brought sub Leech Seed Protect Tapu Bulu, and it just kind of sat there and recovered against what would normally be a counter. And I think that's really cool, and it's really interesting use of the Pokemon that I haven't really gotten a chance to see in like Pokebank OU, so that's pretty interesting, and I really like it.
That's probably one of the coolest things about League format. You can get these like really creative sets that like you otherwise wouldn't see. But I 100% agree. You used Tapu Bulu really well, and that was super cool. And Mega Slowbro, that thing it's definitely not what you think of when you think of like a big offensive threat, but it can just sit in front of a team and take hit after hit and just slowly wear things down. And that just sitting in front of his team was nominated for Play of the Week because it put in so much work, and he was able to really use that well. So I'm really looking forward to see what he does in these upcoming weeks of this team because there are some really cool components to it.
I'll go, I guess.
Joe's here. Cool.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So Tapu Bulu is really interesting. He was my first pick in the draft. I've been using him ever since Gen 7 came out, and you can run him full offense. You can run him subseed, but basically grassy terrain allows him to just sustain forever. Especially since he also gets Stab Horn Leech, that'll give him even more sustain. And with him and Mega Slowbro together, I have a lot of survivability in bulk. As long as they don't have poison for Tapu Bulu, because that one shot. But yeah, Mega Slowbro is just absurd.
So yeah, with that, we'll move on to the next match, the Modena Marowaks with Jarrett against the London Lycanrocs with New Josh. This was a good win for Jarrett. I think it was just a kind of a generic match. Nothing too crazy happened. But what do you guys think on this one?
I think Jarrett definitely bounced back after week 1 and showed what he could do with his team. There were a couple cool things. Scarf Hoopa with just completely catching Weavile off guard and getting the snipe with that was pretty nice. He had Wakanberry on Empoleon, which is very cool. One thing I kind of want to note for New Josh, he didn't really scout for the Grass Knot and Thundurus. I don't know if he knew, or if he thought maybe it was choiced, or if he didn't think Thundurus got Grass Knot. But if you have a wall with a 4x weakness, you need to be super careful with like those coverage moves because like Swampert is a pretty decent wall, like no recovery, but it's still like okay. But you need to be careful about coverage people can have for it. But other than that, I think Jarrett just played very well. He had a pretty cool move set. I forget exactly what it is. It was like Culper Berry and some other stuff, and he just played a very solid.
I actually have some commentary, but let me try and remember who is who because I always have trouble with that.
Jared had Mega Beedrill. New Josh had like Weavile, Lycanroc and stuff.
Bye, Frank. See ya, Frank.
Wait, sorry.
Oh, he's back. All right.
Right. I convinced New Josh to bring Weavile. He told me in our training that he was not considering bringing it, but I convinced him to do it because when I used Hoopa against him, it actually was really effective because a lot of the things he had to fight off some of his other mons, Hoopa could switch into because it actually has a decent special defense. So he did bring Weavile, and I basically took a long time for me to get him to do that, but after I showed him that it was very useful, he took it.
And just looking at the matchup, knockoff for like Mew, Hoopa, low kick for Empoleon, ice coverage for Thunder. It could definitely put in a lot of work, and he got super caught off guard with the Scarf. I think Jarrett played that really well.
Yeah, when I watched this match, I sat there the whole time waiting for Lycanroc to come in and use the moves and like because it had a really great matchup against Jarrett's team. But Jarrett did a really good job making sure they didn't get a chance to set up and do anything really. And I think that was really well played.
I think one of the issues that Josh had this week, I did some training with him as well, and he was very set on using Lycanroc in Sand, and so I think he prepped specifically for that, and really Jarrett was just able to play around that, and it never really happened. So I think that kind of threw Josh for a loop when he wasn't able to get this set up how he wanted it. And with that is the end of week 2, so we can go ahead and take a quick look at week 3. Some matches. We're going to have Carlos versus Lewis. It's going to be a good one. I really am looking forward to Ryan versus Dennis. I think that's going to be a really cool match. It's a division match, and we're going to see if somebody's going to lose their winning streak here. Ryan seems to be the dominant one of these two, so we're going to see Dennis is the underdog in this match, I think. Also, Jarrett and Joe is going to be a good match. Jack versus Chabin is one that I'm looking forward to. They're really kind of rivals season 2, so it's going to be nice to see if that kind of comes back. Cody and Frank are going to play, which will be a good one. Hans and Tony. So I think that's going to be definitely an uphill battle for Tony on that one. And what else do we have? Brian and New Josh. That'll be a good match. Again, I think Brian's going to have to. Josh is going to have to really pull out all the stops. Brian's a season 3 champion. And Kevin and Christian is kind of an ongoing rivalry going back to season 1. They were in the same division together. So that'll be a fun one to see. We'll see if the hacks kind of stop and leave Kevin alone for a little bit. And so what match are you guys looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Christian and Kevin because they played some was the semifinals overall in season 1. And they played a lot in that season 2. So that'll be a really nice match, and one of them's gonna get their first win regardless. So it'll be cool to see that. And also, I guess the opposite end of the spectrum, we have 2 undefeated coaches in Ryan and Dennis. Both people got top 4 in season 3, and I think Dennis is more of a bulky team with a lot of new mons, where Ryan has a lot of offensive mons that we've seen time and time again do very well. So I'm really excited for that one, and I'm excited to play Chabin just because every single game we've played has pretty much been you had one game where it was a 2-0, then it was a 0-0 game he won, and then I beat him one time with 1-0 at with one thing left at 5%. So we always have super intense games. They're never destructions one way or the other. So that's a game I'm just looking forward to play.
Yeah, I'm looking forward most for Dennis and Ryan. I think they're both doing really, really well this season, and they've both shown they're pretty spectacular coaches. And I just want to see who comes out on top because they're both top of the pack in